I grew up on 32nd and Hereford, and my life was, I guess you could say, like a mixed bag. It has good parts and it had some not good parts, but starting out, we originally moved here from Germantown on Walnut Lane, and it was like a drastic difference from being not suburban but a nicer neighborhood to coming down here. A lot of people don't know this is West Philly, but this area is called the Bottom, and if from other people who are really around here, it's called Underworld. So like it's kind of fits the description, if you will. So my mom has 6 children total, 5 living, but I was the only one that she kept, if you want to, for lack of a better word. So my mom was on drugs, but when she moved to Philly, this was kind of, she's originally from Newark, New Jersey, and when she moved to Philly, this was her chance to pretty much start her life over. And my nana, who's actually my mom's cousin, was kind of like my godmom, but I always called her my nana, was helping her get her life together. When she lived in Germantown, she did really good, but it's kind of like when she moved to West Philly, it was kind of like the beginning of the end, and my nana didn't want her to move down here. She used to say, Patrice, for God's sakes, it's called the Bottom. Like, so she didn't want her to come down here. So probably like around 6, 7 is kind of when I think she started dabbling back into drugs. Because I don't remember getting a lot of beatings in my childhood, but I do remember me getting one because my dad, who was a school bus driver, my mom stole out of my dad's wallet. And you know, as a child, you're taught that you're not supposed to steal or take things, whatever. But I got a beating because I told my dad that my mom took something out his wallet. So that's something I do remember from my childhood. I can count on one hand how many times she beat me though. But around, like I said, 5, 6, or 7 came the part when she started leaving me in the house by myself. So as everyone will know, that's not an age that you should leave kids in the house by themselves. So I think that was kind of the beginning of what molded me into being a loner, because I spent a lot of time by myself, or I would call my nana, who lived in Jersey, collects. The court stepped into it, and I do remember my dad getting full custody of me. So I ended up moving to Southwest with my dad, and on my dad's side, my dad had 5 or 6 children, and most of us are living besides one. I know a lot of kids don't have this, but I was able to crawl into my dad's bed and go to sleep with him and my stepmom and things like that when I was scared. But I was scared because my mom used to leave me in the house by myself all the time. So it was kind of like I would do things like check my dad's bedroom to make sure he was still there, because I would go to sleep, my mom was there, and I would wake up and come in my room and she was gone. So my dad kind of understood that, the reason why I did that. And it's crazy because you don't even remember those type of things until you go over it, but that's very traumatic when you think about it. So my sisters pretty much were teen moms, and we all had moms who were drug addicts, so we needed my dad. It wasn't just the one, we needed my dad. Around 4th grade, my dad ended up moving to Virginia, and even the transitions with that was very difficult. My dad brought me back down here to my mom's house the day he moved. My mom caught a bus and took me back to my dad's house and left me on the step by myself. My dad, instead of seeing that I should take her to Virginia, actually took me to the police district that's on Woodland Avenue, and my aunt had to come get me. So then I ended up coming back here, and then I ended up getting enrolled back in McMichael, and that's kind of when I started realizing that my mom was on drugs and had an issue, because I would go to my nana's house on the weekend, and my papa used to give me $20 every week to spend for allowance. And it was this one incident that I remember when my school pants went missing, and I really thought I lost them, and it turned out that my mom stole my pants to take the money out of it, and it hit my pants, so I didn't find them weeks later, and my money was missing and everything. It's a playground around the corner, and it's like a lot of drug dealers are around there, and I saw my mom would be around there frequently, and I actually asked the guy that lived next door, I asked him, I said, hey, is my mom on drugs? I asked him just straight like that, and it wasn't, I didn't need to be coddled, I just wanted a straightforward answer, because I've always pretty much been the same, where if I know what the problem is, I know how to deal with it, you know. And I would notice odd things in there, kind of like her talking to herself, or saying that people were putting things through the vents and stuff like that, and again, she was always never home as well. So probably by high school, it's kind of like my mom just completely much checked out, and that's when I needed her most, kind of, you know, you're going into high school. So I kind of went to my cousin's house for a bit, and then my nana kind of thought that I wasn't getting enough structure, so then my Nana took me. But the issue with that was my Nana and my pop-up were really strict. My pop-up is Nigerian, and after a while, when you let a kid get so much freedom, like I went to camp and stuff like that, but when a kid has so much freedom and no structure, it's hard to put them into this environment. So the big thing with like black girls is that no one registered that I went from being a black girl who was left in the house at 6 years old by herself, realizing a parent had a drug addiction. My safety net, which was my father, literally up and left me and went to Virginia and didn't take me, and it's all these traumatic things happen. And with black girls, we don't get sent to therapy. We get told we got bad attitudes. She's a problem child, she's this, she's that, and no one's realizing that she needs to be put in therapy. This is a lot of traumatic things that is not normal. It's not the everyday for people to deal with that. But I didn't get that saving grace. It went from me coming from here and me going to my cousin's house to me kind of being labeled like bad. Like, okay, if I always got good grades, always got A's in middle school, and I get to this school and my grades are dropping, then maybe I need help. Maybe instead of running the streets, maybe you can sit down with me and go over my homework. Maybe you can go up to the school and see what the issue is. I've always been a child that's been independent. Never in my life have I ever needed anyone to sit down with me and do my homework. And the one time that I needed someone to help me with my schoolwork, I didn't have it. And the one I love my Nana to death, but the one heartbreaking thing was it was this one semester in school where my Nana watched me. I always sucked at math and science. I was never good at it. I'm artistic. I was never good at it. And she watched me go to tutoring and all of that. And when I still got a bad grade, I raised my grade from an F to a D, I was still reprimanded and got in trouble. When it's just like, you watch me go, you obviously could tell that the issue wasn't me not doing my work, it wasn't me studying, it's I'm just not good at certain things. And that was kind of, and after that, I was sent back to my mom's house. And I kind of felt like once I didn't fit the mold of how, I wasn't this scholar and central that you guys expected me to be, but it kind of was like, it kind of got me too late, you know. I kind of went through too many traumatic experiences, and the only way to fix that was by putting me in therapy and me working through that first, and maybe sitting me down with tutors and doing things like that and being more hands-on, which requires a little bit more effort. But you know, a lot of times with black girls, the easier thing to say she has a bad attitude, send her back to her mom. And by the time I got back here, my mom was just so far gone. It went to my Nana got me like a for my 8th grade graduation, got me a bracelet, a charm bracelet that was $500. The first charm member was a heart, and as I graduated and did my things through life, charm was supposed to be added to it. My mom pawned it for $14. We got out the pawn shop and then she pawned it again. Like I said, it was still my clothes and things like that. So it's when I got my first job at 15 I think, at the McDonald's on 40th Street. My first paycheck, my mom was trying to charge me rent. I was only making $7.25, and this is HUD housing, which means it's low income. I mean, you don't pay rent here. And I remember getting an income tax check for like $169, and she opened my mail and was so hyped about it. I wanted to save my money, and we got into an argument because she wanted to cash in and spend my money. So then it got progressively worse. By that time, you know, my Nana was battling cancer. And you know, you have these ideas about guys you're supposed to stay away from, but when you start getting little bits of attention from guys, or you had this comfort in the structure, and you have someone who kind of mimics that, you kind of cling to that. And I end up getting a relationship with someone who I shouldn't have been with, and end up getting pregnant at 17, which my mom didn't notice. So I had to figure out how to get an abortion without her noticing, and I had to get like a court order and things like that. And by this point, she was frequently kicking me out. I had to stay with my best friend mom in 10th grade. And it got so bad, like she would be banging on my door with a knife in her hand trying to kill me. I had to keep my door locked, and it just got really bad. So by the time I turned 18, I pretty much got a seasonal job at Ross. I stayed in the street at my friend's Erica house for about 3 months. I saved my money up and got my first apartment. And West Philly, like I said, I don't really have a good connection with this neighborhood, although I have a lot of great childhood memories as far as my friends. I saw this as a place I need to escape. I left and I never came back. My childhood, pretty much, one thing I would say was never really any consistency. I was always taken from one environment to a different environment. It's kind of like you are in hell and you're waiting for someone to save you, and someone comes saves you, and then it's like when you aren't what they expect you to be, they take you right back. And it's kind of like I was here, like I said, my mom started out one way, then it turned to me being in a house by myself, which is kind of like at 5, 6, or 7, it's kind of like you kind of are in charge of yourself. So when you go into school and you have people telling you what to do, it doesn't translate over well. So instead of being someone questioning like, why is she having such an issue with authority, what's going on at home, you're taught she has a bad attitude, she doesn't listen, she has bad behavior, let's give her 3s or Ds in behavior. Then I go into my dad's environment, which is you got a black man in the household, which is not common. There's a lot of people, I grew up, a lot of people don't know their dads, but my dad was there. And you go, but you got a stepmom dynamic. And then my mom, it's a whole scandal with, I think I was like a side chick baby. So it was like a whole scandal amongst my mom, my dad, and my stepmom all worked at the same job. And then my dad would bounce back and forth, and I think he ended up getting my mom pregnant. And it was always tension, a lot of tension. I think they were actually friends at one point in time. So it was always tension amongst them. And then you got a mom who was telling you one thing, so like, you don't have to listen to her XYZ, but you're coming into a household with someone who's actually trying, and that creates a lot of friction as well. It's like no level of like structure being taught there. Now my dad, I love him to death, but he did a lot of deplorable things too. As I said, like my mom was always a financial parent. So one year my mom put on my Christmas gifts, but my dad put him and my stepmom names all on it. So then you're adding resentment towards my mom with me because like she's not doing whatever for me. So you got that one environment, and then you have my Nana's environment, who my Nana is a registered nurse, my pop is an accountant, VP of his firm, a nice house in Somerdale, New Jersey, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, laundry room, built a swimming pool in the backyard with a diving board and a slide. I learned how to swim at 9 years old. Trips at Disney, clothes, shopping sprees, because my Nana always had credit cards and things like that. So we went to JCPenney's, had cable, always food in the fridge, electric, water, everything always worked. Cars, my mom didn't have a car. Nice cars, whatever. So it's just like I was constantly being bounced from 3 different environments, and no one thought. I get where people's hearts are at, because you just want to take her out of this environment, but people didn't realize how hard that transition was for a child. And actually my Nana actually tried to keep me in the Jersey environment. She went to register me for school there, and I remember my mom coming to my Nana's house, banging on the door, yelling and screaming, telling my Nana to give her effing child, because when she tried to register me, welfare was going to cut my mom food stamps off, and she was going to lose all her government benefits. So I could have had a way better life, but my mom always been money hungry. Like I said, she's always been a financial parent, but that's always connected to money hungriness. So when I was brought back into this environment, I didn't have a lot of role models. I had my cousin Malika, who's my Nana's daughter, who I looked up to. When you come down here, you only have girls who are having sex at an early age, who are very promiscuous, or you have girls who are mothers. So the thing was, the local drug dealers or the guys in the neighborhood, you had babies by them. Before you were even 18, that was a thing. And having unprotected sex with them was also a thing. You kind of got the message that if you love him and he loves you, having unprotected sex with a man is kind of how you build trust with him, and that wasn't the case. And I learned that the hard way. And I don't tell a lot of people this, but I was burnt 4 times from the one guy. I was only having sex with him, but with that mentality, I think he gave me chlamydia 4 times within that, because obviously now it would never happen. Burnt 4 times and was pregnant twice by this same person because of the mentality that you had. But I would like to say this, is that when you have people in your life that really love you, even if they pass away or they may not be in your life as consistently, the things that they instill in you never leave. So I love my Nana so much, because even though I was in this environment and I got pregnant, I knew that that wasn't the life that I wanted for me, and it was still a level, as much freedom as I had, it was still things in me that I didn't want to disappoint my Nana, and I didn't want to disappoint my pop, and I knew college was never, you know how some people have the option to go to college, you cannot go, you get a job. College was, I had to go. It wasn't an option, regardless if I was there in her household or not. It was something that was still instilled in me. So when I got pregnant, I have to get rid of this. I can't do this. When I got pregnant again at 19, well 18, and found out at 19, I can't do this. So it didn't matter how much I was in this environment, and it didn't matter how much. It was one girl who I was pregnant with at the same time, and she was pregnant and was like, oh, you can call your baby, my boyfriend name was Chris at the time, you can call your baby Christina, and da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. I still knew that I didn't want that. And it was always troubling to me that I lived in the household with my mom, and the stereotypical symptoms that you get when you're pregnant, throwing up, sleeping in bed, whatever. My first period teacher in Central noticed I was pregnant, and I told her I wasn't keeping it. So she said, oh my God, thank God. My mom didn't notice. I was getting up in the morning throwing up my stomach lining, and she didn't even notice that I was pregnant. So it's just kind of like, people talk a lot about black boys and the environments that they're in, but they don't give that same energy to black women when we're in, literally, and this is not to get too graphic, where I really had someone, older girl, who was telling me how to perform oral sex using toothpaste or whatever, how to do that, and I wasn't even 16 yet. So these are the type of influences that young black women are fighting their way out of. You know, a parent that's on drugs, boys who are out here who are pretty much raised to be predators to girls who are vulnerable to things like that. You know, if you don't have that father's love or someone in your household that's on top of you and things like that. So it's kind of like, I'm so grateful for the girls now who have great role models, because I didn't have that outside of TV, and I had my cousins, but being in the distance versus being right here is a totally different thing. It's like you have a responsibility, which I think is a crazy responsibility to put on someone that young of an age to make good choices when it's adults out here who are not even making good choices. But it was kind of instilled, it was always with me, well, if you had this example with Lika and Lissa is doing it, which are my older cousins, and they're not doing it, then even if you're not in their sight, you should still be following that same thing. I'm grateful for it, but that is a hell of a responsibility to put on someone who's not even 16 yet. I have family members who are Muslims. We call them you call them the Muhammad. So it's like my Aunt Nima, and whose real name is Denise, but she went by Naima because she married a man who was Muslim. And then they were pretty much the only Muslim people in my family. And kind of looking back now, my Nana was once Muslim as well though. So my Nana kind of always took it serious, but then you get some people who kind of make the traditional Muslim jokes, or they Muslim when it's convenient, or they don't cover up, or they just say the third, you know, blah, blah, blah. But those were my, they were my first introduction to Islam in my childhood. But outside of that, I didn't really see it outside of my cousins who might have got a boyfriend in jail, then they were Muslim and covered up. But as soon as that didn't work out, they were out the garbs again. So I didn't really see too many. I do have a memory when I was in middle school. It was a one girl who was Muslim, and I remember some guys, you know, the school's right across from the projects, and people don't raise their kids properly. So I do remember this one Muslim girl being covered up and a guy ripping off her hijab, and her real hair was out, and she covered her hair, and she was like crying. And at that age, you don't understand, you know it's wrong, but you don't understand why it's so wrong. And as older being Muslim now, I'm just like, wow, that's really deplorable. He should have been suspended. That's not okay. But in the black neighborhood, like, you're Muslim, it's kind of like, in certain I would say it got better over time. Certain chapters you get more people who are more educated, have more respect for it, and you get some people that's like, oh, she only Muslim because she's some guy she was dealing with, or this and the third. Is not taking that seriously, where Christianity and things like that, or Jehovah's Witnesses, are taken more serious. But they don't skip the beat to judge you if you're doing something they feel like you're not a Muslim should be doing, but you know it's not given that same respect, if you will. When I first turned Muslim, I mean, it kind of goes to the terms of like, who gonna check me? So it wasn't really so much that my family could say. My Nana was very accepting of it because, again, I'm very, very close to my Nana. I tell my Nana everything. The good, the bad, I tell her everything. And I told you, once upon a time, my Nana was Muslim. So me and her had the conversation before I took my Shahada. So when I actually took it, it was no surprise to her. And honestly, that's the only person's opinion that mattered to me. When I did first post, I was Muslim for a couple of months before I even posted it on social media. When I did, I turned my comments off just because, you know, the ignorance and things like that. And then it was people that were like, yes, it was people. I actually got a positive reaction. I did have this one cousin who seen me with the khimar on. Oh, you Muslim? Obviously, if I have a khimar on, you can ask me, when did you convert? But that's a dumb question. Ask me if I'm Muslim if you couldn't see me with the hijab on. I did have a male cousin who kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That was, I don't know, I can't even remember the whole dialogue, but it's like, he's Muslim, but he doesn't even practice certain things correctly. And it's not knocking him, but it's just like, I'm not for the whole, you're not even practicing things you're supposed to be doing, but you see a small soundbite of something on social media. That's part of the reason I don't have Facebook anymore either. And you are commenting on things. So, but like with my family, like I said, as far as my Nana, I was just always accepted by her. And then my family, like I said, my family is not predominantly Muslim, but I always had some Muslim family members, so it wasn't like, oh my God, this shot. I did get some conversations of, see, the thing about it is that I have a very strong personality, and you can't come to me with a lot of BS. So it was like, you may have a conversation with somebody on the side, but you're gonna have that on the side with them, and you're not gonna bring it to me because you know that I'm just not the one for it. So it was kind of, I was around family members, and it wasn't any smart comments. It was kind of like, oh, you must be on, blah, blah, blah. But it was like kind of accepting of it. But what I did realize in my friends' dynamic, it shifted. So when I took my Shahada, I was the only one of my friends that's kind of, for the most part, that was Muslim. A year later, multiple of my friends were Muslim. So that was like the beautiful thing about that, is that I kind of inspired a few of my friends to take their shahada. I didn't push them. It wasn't anything like that. It was something natural. It was like a safe place, you know. Some people want to do things, but they don't have anyone to talk to about it. But with me, like I said, I had someone overseas, and I have a friend named Chrissy who was already Muslim. And I don't want to say my kind of Muslim, but in any religion, there's fanatics. And it's just like, I knew that I didn't want to get my information from the girl that's all in the all black with the niqab with the gloves. You could barely see her face. Everything is about me, and she didn't have any. I knew that I didn't want to get my perspective of the religion from a Muslim woman like that. And not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I've always been a creative person, and I've always been outspoken. So anything that completely strips me of who I am is not going to be, you know, a valuable option to me. So Chrissy was someone who I seen where Chrissy wore the mustard Shayla. She wears black, but she will put a denim jacket on with it or a colored Shayla. And it was like a nice happy meeting. I'm like, you know what? This is moderate. This is nice. This is someone who's on their deen, but you can still see her through it. And don't get me wrong, I love wearing niqabs. I don't mind wearing all black. But it's like, you know, it's on my terms. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it to please my Lord. I'm not doing it because I want to be more appealing to a man. And it's funny because you have that conversation that comes up a lot where if you on guard, you're trying to do XYZ for a man. But how many women are out here in the all black with nasty attitudes? And you have a nasty attitude because it's something that you don't really want to do. You're doing it because it's what your husband wants you to do. Your husband, who probably has multiple wives and is not practicing it correctly. And it's not really who you are. And it's not saying Islam isn't who you really are, but the way you're going about it isn't really who you are. And you did it at such a fast pace that, you know, you kind of lose it. But my family, like I said, my friends and my family were pretty much accepting of it. And I didn't get as much of a negative feedback from it as I thought I would. I do identify as a black Muslim woman. And what that means to me is that I am like multifaceted, if you would say. It means I wear many hats. And I'm proud to be both, but it means I'm also accepting the challenge of taking on more hurdles, if you will, especially in the workplace. So I won't say the place that I worked, but it was a place that I worked where I'm a black woman first before I'm anything. And then you add on Islam and you got the hijab and things like that. It adds on a different layer of things. So you go into the workplace, so not only am I discriminated against because I'm a black girl, but now I'm Muslim, so you have a whole different level of ignorance that's coming. And you can tell someone, hey, I don't celebrate holidays, but they keep asking, how was your Thanksgiving? Or trying to force you to go to Christmas parties, or trying to force you to decorate your desk after you already told them that you don't celebrate certain things. Or you get, if you may be in the market or outside somewhere, and although I had a great experience with a Middle Eastern Muslim, that's not always the experience. You may walk through a supermarket, you may greet someone, assalamu alaikum, and they won't say anything back to you. Some of the Middle Eastern people, because they don't feel like some black Muslims are on their same level. So they won't speak. So that's another thing that you have to deal with. Or you have things pushed back from your black community as well. Where you have people who think that you took your shahada because of a man, or it's like a clique type of thing. Everybody's in the all black or whatever, and if you are in something different, like color or something like that, you're like a deviant or something like that. Or you go to these sister classes and you go there looking for a type of sisterhood and things like that, and you get there and you realize it's not that sisterly. You know, it's kind of like, I'm gonna go here, mind my business, let me get my knowledge I need, and I'm gonna go. And it's just kind of always trying to find the middle ground, and it's kind of having good friends around you is a big thing as far as being a black Muslim woman, a sisterhood. Because I can have Muslim girlfriends around me, but the furthest their religion goes is just what they wear. They outside, their inside can be very dark, and they can be nasty, they can backbite, they can be committing fit, and they're doing a lot of different things. Or I may have friends who are not Muslim, who are, if I'm out my kimar, are you supposed to be garbed up, girl? Like, that's kind of making sure I'm in line with my religion. But I do also have Muslim friends. I was very specific in picking my Muslim companions because I've seen how many ways it can go wrong. So my Muslim companions I have are normal. Like, again, we do the all black too sometimes, you know, we feel like, let's say if it's to eat or things like that, I may do it. If I'm going to the man shift for sister class, I will put on my all black and my niqab. But it's also ones, like I have one Muslim friend who does like the turban a lot, but everything she has is modest. Like the clothing, everything is loose fitting, it's not tight. My companion Zayn, and like I said, that's who makes all my garments. Like I only get my overgarments custom made. That was another thing as a black Muslim woman, it's hard to find clothes. I don't dress corny. So it's like, I'm not going down the street to the Islamic store and buying an overgarment that I don't think it looks good on me. So it's a cost in fashion as well. So it's like easier spending $60 or $70 on an overgarment. And then I love color, so I went and got like a bunch of shaders and things like that. So it's kind of like, but also being around other black women who say it's okay to wear color. Nowhere does it say we have to wear all black, but it's this whole thing where you have to wear all black and you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So as a black Muslim woman, it's kind of always defending your decisions, but also kind of being unbothered by it. It's like picking and choosing your battles. I would say the hardest place is definitely the workplace when you work with predominantly white people, because they try it a lot. I remember I came in one day, I may have worn my hijab 95% of the time. I came in one day without it, and this white guy said to me, "Oh, where's your thingy?" Excuse me? And you know me, it's just kind of like, now you antagonizing me, but when I curse you out, I'm an angry black woman. Stay in your lane and get out my face, because you asking stupid questions. One time he thought it was a scarf. This is where the black woman part plays a part of it, because when you're a white woman, you're allowed to complain, you're allowed to disagree and things like that. But when you're a black woman, it's just kind of like, girl, can't you just be grateful? You're not given that same grace. I have an attitude. I'm putting on a show. If I go to an establishment, I went to a hotel in Miami, free continental breakfast, only pork meat. What type of crap is this? How do you only have pork here? But if I say something about that, I'm putting on a show. But if I was Becky and I was vegan and I didn't eat that, I just don't understand how you guys don't have that option. It's a totally different thing. So it's just kind of like always having to be mindful of that. Not only, it's kind of like, I'm a black woman and I'm vocal, but in Islam, you're also taught not to argue and to kind of be peaceful and to be humble and kind of make 1,000 excuses for people. So it's kind of like, it's a plus to it, because it has calmed me down and kind of save my sanity, where I don't give my energy into certain things. But it is sometimes where I do have to jump out of my religion sometimes, because people need to know. And you know, I have to pray about it, but it's always you always are kind of wearing both hats, because it's just like, I'm Muslim, but I'm also a black woman. And it's kind of like you are taking on stereotypes. Even, it's just mind-blowing how men treat you. Muslim men. I've had incidents where I had a Muslim man, but I didn't have my hijab on, cursing at me, calling me B words, all types of MFs, ugly, all that. But I guarantee if I was in my hijab, you would have put up a front like that wasn't really you. So it was very eye-opening where you see like some black Muslims act. Like I was pulling into a parking spot, and the one girl, she was Muslim, but I didn't have my hijab on, was cursing and doing, it's just amazing how you see people behave when you take it off and they don't know you're Muslim. You really see a lot of true colors. I've seen Muslim men act horrible, like the way they speak and everything like that. But it's like, if I had my hijab on, I literally will wonder how their behavior changes. And then it's also where people think you need to be covered up because it makes you more respectable. Lower your gaze, because when you're covered up, you don't get that type of attention from men. Can I tell you that my attention has skyrocketed since I covered? The first thing is, oh, hey, how are you? Are you married? Are you married? Not my name, anything about me, whatever. You're supposed to be lowering your gaze. That shouldn't even be a question you ask. We're not even in the proper setting for that. But I'm telling you, you literally get more attention when you're covered up than I ever did when I wasn't. I got my first beauty campaign by being covered up. Then I wouldn't even gotten the opportunity if I wasn't covered. So that's like a big misconception. It doesn't, if people want to look at you, they're going to look at you. It doesn't matter if you have your hijab on, if you don't have it on. You actually get more attention because it's something that's more intriguing and different about you. Regardless if you're black, blue, purple, it's the same thing. So the hardest thing, which I spoke about earlier, is like mental health things. And I've struggled with mental health, like depression and things like that, because when I went through traumatic experiences, it was untreated for so long. And I do think my mom suffers from depression. And I don't want to say, because I don't know if it's statistically correct, but I do think depression is somewhat hereditary, especially in Black families, because we deal with so much trauma that is not dealt with. So depression has been a big thing in my life, which I've gotten better with. Islam has helped me. But in the Black community, I can't speak for other communities, but in the Black community, praying is a solution for everything. But what they don't realize is that with depression, it's something that you don't have control over. And sometimes you get so low that you can't even fathom the energy to pray. You don't feel like you're even deserving of the prayer or the things that come with the prayer and things like that. Or it's just, you're just tired. It's so mentally exhausting. And you have people who tell you when you go to these classes, when you speak to your Lord, your mind should be clear. Maybe you shouldn't cry when you pray and things like that. But sometimes when you are depressed, my mind is not clear. And you know, what is the difference is in Christianity and different religions, you can say what you want to say. God, what's up? You know, whatever. You say your little spiel, but you really get to say what you want. You get to freestyle in your prayer. Islam is not like that. You know, 5 different prayers, 5 different sets for most of the prayers, different surahs and all rakats and all that. Got to have your good pair of knees or all that. It's a totally different thing. You have to do all that first. And then you get to make dua and talk to your Lord. But you gotta do the obligatory part first. And that prayer can be anywhere, depending on the pace you're going at. You're taught to extend that prayer. So that can be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. But if I'm depressed and I'm hating myself and I want to die and I can barely eat, where am I getting that energy from? To speak to someone who I can't even see directly in my face. I may feel them in my heart, but I can't see them directly for 5 to 10 minutes. Where is that coming from? And that's not a real conversation that people have about mental health and just being in the correct space. If my environment isn't correct, you know, it's a feeling, you know, it's like if my environment isn't equipped for me to pray, then it's just like, I understand that your prayer is the most important thing, but we have to start being real and having real conversations about it. And I feel like we don't. It's just pray, that's it. I was having a conversation during Ramadan where it was like my Ramadan started off really good, but at this time I'm not in my own environment. And I had someone who asked me, can I meal prep my breakfast? Who meal preps breakfast? I don't want no cold behind bacon. I don't want that. Or like you have to tiptoe around other people where it's just like when you do Ramadan, you want to wake up in the morning, have the space to yourself, listening to your surahs, listen to your Quran, whatever you're listening to, and just have that space. But we also have to realize that's a privilege that everyone doesn't have. And when you don't have that and you don't get to go in Ramadan your own way, it hinders you. You know, even though people push through, that's easier said than done. Or if you are around people who want to listen to gospel music or got a bunch of crosses everywhere, or, you know, just not respectful or cooking food or certain things when you're trying to fast, that's difficult. And people don't speak about it. Or it's just like a lot of like challenging things, and it's kind of like you have to kind of reel yourself back in, because you know all advice isn't good advice. And it's just like some people, if a person never struggled with mental health, how can they really help you be equipped with that challenge of, girl, I want to pray, like it's in my heart, I want to pray, but I'm so depressed, I'm so mentally exhausted, I cannot. The solution for that, or you just got pushed through and pray. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help me at all. And that's the challenging part of having it in your mind and your heart and knowing you want to do it, but trying to get focused enough to get to it. And then even when it comes down to the marriage part in Islam, it's just kind of like, these girls are out here settling. Like, it's just crazy. I understand polygamy is a part of the religion, but that's going to be a no for me, dog. I'm cool. I don't want my one husband. But even if you hear how a lot of these women speak about their marriage, there's no more love. These women don't even adore the men that they're with. I don't mind working. So just because you pay the bills or you're going to take care of me, I don't have to work, that's not enough for me to marry you. I literally spoke to a friend the other day and I asked her, oh, how's marriage? Oh yeah, you know, it's, you know, good. A lot of work. I wouldn't trade it, but a lot of work. When you speak about marriage, why is work the first thing that comes up with that? That's not the first thing that I want to say. I love it. Not to say it has to be fake, but you know, you just had a baby. You just had a baby, you got married, you had a baby, you work. Like, I feel like it should have been a bunch of other things that could have came up. Besides, it's a lot of work and I wouldn't trade it. It seems like more of an obligation. Like you're doing it because that's what the Quran says you're supposed to do. But you know, a woman being half of a man's dean is a lot. That's important. So what you want to go into that with someone who you love and you really adore, and it's a bunch of other wonderful feelings that come up besides work. So it's kind of like, you know, having that component as well. And it's just that's the difficult part, you know, making sure you stay on top of your prayers. And covering is it's kind of like a flip bag for me. Covering is not hard for me. I do have to be in a place for it. Sometimes I don't cover, but it's not because it's religiously hard. It's because I'm just a creative person. I'm an artist and I have businesses, and you know, I want to be seen, as far as my business, a Muslim woman who has a business, not a Muslim business. Because when you put a Muslim business on it, if I curse, it's an issue. If I don't have my hijab on, it's an issue. You're putting something on me that I didn't ask for. So no, I'm fine with being, yeah, she Muslim, this is her business, but I don't want you to brand my business as a Muslim business. And it's not that I'm ashamed to be a Muslim, but when you do that, you don't have room to be imperfect. And I'm not perfect, so I don't want you to put that on me. It's just, even if you look at Halima, a Muslim whose has been covered in all of her ass, and people still have an issue with it. Or she shouldn't be doing that, blah, 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 blah. But it's because she's named a Muslim model, not a model that is Muslim. It's a totally different responsibility that I'm honored to have, but it's on my terms and the terms of my Lord. Not the terms that you have. You're not even, whatever religion you have, you're not even practicing correctly. But you feel like you can tell me something about me. And it's just, that's like the hard part, making decisions, because at the end of the day, you do have two responsibilities. You have the responsibility of your religion. You have a responsibility as a black woman and being real. So for instance, I just did a shoot and I wasn't garbed up in my my shoot at all. And one of the photos I had was a bit risque. I was in lingerie and things like that, which I know I was dead wrong for, which I will repent for. I know it's dead wrong, but within that is that we live in a society where it's so many fake bodies these days. Even if they did get surgeries, the bodies have been touched up so much before they made it online, and it's a totally different thing. You would start it here and you all over there by the time it gets online. And I kind of just wanted to be real. Like, I'm not skinny, and my plus size, I'm not skinny, but I'm somewhere in between. And I just wanted to be real and transparent. So I made the decision to post it. And in that, it was women who I wasn't even thinking about that, but like, oh, I love this, blah, 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 girl. Your body look nice, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't do it. It had nothing to do with the attention of men, but all to do with being a safe haven for women who look like me. And another thing is that even though I changed now, I love being sexy. And I don't have no men. So I know the biggest thing is that you say that for your husband, you do this and da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. I don't have a husband. So what now? And I have like a sweatsuit on now, but I'm a thicker girl. And oversized clothes really only work when you're smaller. But when you are thick like me, you look bigger. And I don't want to look bigger. And there's no shade to anybody, but it's just kind of like, when you put those overgarments on, although they may be beautiful, that body starts to spread. And you don't realize until you look at it, when you 5 Krispy Kremes in a row, that you have gained as much weight as you've gained. So for me, when I was covered up and things like that, I was covered up and I was happy, but I didn't realize how much weight I gained. And that didn't make me happy. So I'm like, okay. And prior to that, the reason why I didn't gain weight as much is because I was always, I don't know the word for it, but I always knew what my shape looked like because I always wore clothes that fit. Not tight, but I've always worn clothes that flattered my shape. So I knew what was going on. But when you wear the bigger clothes, the overgarments, you don't know what's going on because nothing is hugging. So you get in there pot belly and all that. And you're like, what the hell? When did this happen? So now for me, I'm a little slower to cover back up. I'm getting there, but I'm slower to cover back up because I have a rounder face. And I know that sometimes when I'm not at my goal weight, so when I put my hijabs on, sometimes my face looks fatter than what it is. And it has nothing to do with the attention of a man, but all about me. And even now, with the sweatsuit, I was like, oh, child, I look oversized. Like, but it is what it is. But, you know, you don't, when you get to, sexuality is a big part for me. It has nothing to do with a man, but it's just, I always like to be sexy. Even if it's not, my friends tell me, you don't want to do nothing if you can't be cute. And that's me. I don't participate in sports and things like that because I don't like to sweat. I like to be cute. I like to be girly. That's me. So when I do wear certain things, again, I realized that I'm actually not as half naked as I thought I was. I just don't have my hijab on. But it's like I'm wearing things that flatter me. I'm a thicker girl. So it's like I may not wear a bigger shirt because my shirt may look like I got a muffin top and things like that. So I may wear jeans and I may wear a more fitted shirt. It may have sleeves. I may not have my cleavage out. But again, I can see my shape and it looks flattering on me. Or if I wear a suit, it's certain things. So it's not tough for me to cover, but it's tough for me to find that balance where I'm not looking big as a damn house and trying to, you know, be comfortable with that. So that's like more of the challenging part. So I'm getting more back into it now with the fashion stuff. Like I got my little fur coats and trenches and things like that. But it's kind of like having your sexuality doesn't leave just because you take a shahada. And if you are a truly confident woman, you know that your sexuality isn't connected to a man. So if I wear perfume, I do my makeup, it don't got nothing to do with a man. I do it because that's who I am. I ain't supposed to have these nails on, like, but I love doing this. You know, if I'm asking for somebody some money or something like that. That's why I love wearing my nails. But that's who I am. And you know, those are my sins that I have to answer for. You know, me having acrylic and polishing my nails, I ain't supposed to have. I got to answer for that. Me wearing the makeup or weave, that's something I have to answer for. And I understand that I'm not supposed to be doing it. I'm not telling anyone else to do it. But in the same breath that I may be slighted in that, I'm also a good person. And anything I do and I operate with love. And any charity and things I give is not forecasted on social media. I don't backbite people. I don't gossip. I'm not intentionally nasty and mean to people. If people ask me for knowledge, I give it. I do charity. I try to read when I can. I try to pray when I can. I try to do other things. For the most part, I'm not out here committing fitna. It's a lot of different things. So it's like, although I may fall short in certain categories, I'm not a big drinker. I don't smoke. But if somebody out here, and I'm not judging, that's in the all black telling me about they smoking a Newport while you in your hijab. And I'm not judging you, but it's like, you know, we have to kind of keep our eyes on our own sins. So for me, that's kind of the harder part in a religion. What I see like for my spiritual journey over the years is that I want to be the person that says all 5 prayers on time perfectly. I want to be the woman who says prayers outside of that as well. I would love to one day, hopefully, inshallah, memorize the Quran, like, because that's a beautiful thing, to learn more surahs, more hadiths, learn more about the women in Islam, to hopefully do Hajj, you know, one day, to always, you know, be a kind person, to become softer over the years, to be more patient, to give more charity. I hope, inshallah, one day that I marry a great Muslim man as well. I want to have children who are raised Islamically as well, Islamic schooling and things like that. And just kind of like, I do want to be covered. I do see that in the future for me, you know, being that woman that's covered but still authentic in me. And just being a peaceful person, and just a big thing for me is to be, I'm not there yet, but a person that's comfortable with death, because, you know, everything comes to an end, and just, you know, the hereafter, you know, depending on how you live your life, can be a beautiful thing. And it's just, I want to be the person when it's my time to go, that I'm comfortable with it. I'm okay with it. I see the beauty and the peace in it, because this life is only temporary. So I hope that one day I am so engulfed in my religion, and so have so much love for my Lord, my religion overall, and just such an understanding of it, that when it is my time to go, that I'm at peace with it.